Katawa na siya.
Nagagawa niyo ang kuha niyo, guys.
Scary, uy. Gataw. Kalma, Jobber, hinay-hinay lang.
Good afternoon, welcome to the season 2 of Power Women, our way of paying tribute to women who are not afraid to make a difference. I'm Jobert Okaw, the online editor of the Freeman, and with me today in the second episode of season 2 of Power Women are journalists in Cebu who have made a mark in the local journalism industry. We have with us news personalities from GMA 7, Luan Merendina, Cecil Kibod Castro, and of course the program manager of Balitang Bisda, Suzanne Salva Alueta. Thank you, ladies, for being here. On a formal
Hello.
Alright. Thank you for joining us today, for dropping by. I know that you are so busy with elections and everything else, but it's a Saturday afternoon and you don't have work today, so we're very glad to have you with us. Okay, this is our second season of Power Women, and we are inviting women who we hope can inspire other women and young girls. Let's begin with the first question. Did you always want to be in journalism or communication?
It was my childhood dream, but actually second ambition because I've always wanted to become a nun at first. And then when I was about to graduate in grade 6, that's the time I wanted to become a newscaster.
Okay, before I proceed to Zani and Cecil,
Yes.
we'd like to congratulate Luan.
Thank you.
This is your spotlight because this year you once again won the Gandingan Award from
Thank
the
you.
University of the Philippines, Los
Los
Baños.
Baños.
This is the 2019 trophy, but you also have with us the 2018 last year's trophy. This year you won as best field reporter. Same as last year, but this year the difference is
national
that
award.
you competed against other reporters.
In the national and
Category.
regional. This
National.
one is regional.
Okay, regional. The 2018 regional and 2018 national. So congratulations. How does it feel to be? How does it feel to win something this prestigious? National level.
I don't know how to explain my emotion, pero both grateful and honored because I know the rest of the nominees are as
Equally competent,
equally
yeah.
or much more experienced than I am. Pero thankful ko maybe because the entry was ni fit siya sa team.
What was your entry this time around?
Actually, we have 3 entries. That boy, how do you call it?
From the Lisa.
From the
Okay.
Lisa.
That went viral.
And then the 4 siblings who were malnourished, and then the Naga coverage, landslide.
The landslide. Yes, yes. So congratulations to you and congratulations to GMA Cebu because you provided a platform for Luan to be able to tell her stories. Let's go to Zani and Cecil. Did you always want to be in journalism? I heard it was an accident for you.
Yes,
To a certain extent.
actually, Jobber. Because way back in high school, I really hate math. So I was thinking if I took up mass communication, then I'll get rid of math subjects.
Yeah.
It ended
How
up-
wrong you were.
Yes.
We can relate to that.
Yeah, in reality, wala gyud ay subject in college na walay math.
Yes.
So, while in college, I ended up loving DevCom because I want to specialize on developmental communication. But when I had my internship at GMA 7, a month before graduation, Mamel Mahaba took me in. So, akong feeling feeling mo, before ka graduate na nanaday opportunity sa iman mo trabaho. So, I ended up working with GMA 7.
Not everyone gets that opportunity right
Yes,
away.
di ba, when you graduate and then you end up sa mainstream media din siya.
Yes, yes.
So it was actually an opportunity.
You went to college in the University of the
UBC,
Philippines in Cebu.
yes.
Luan, I met you
Yes.
for a year in Silliman University.
And half-bred.
But you moved back to Cebu.
Siliman, 2 years. STC, 2.5 years.
Why did you leave?
Ask my father.
But you are from Cebu, yun, no?
Yes.
Okay, Zani is also from Cebu.
Cebu.
Ma'am Cecil.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Joker?
Cecil, did you always want to be in the profession?
Yes,
Because I
actually,
think I remember meeting you the first time, you were still an intern.
That's right. Yeah, I think I did a survey here in Freeman. Well, going back, I started getting interested in journalism back in high school. Because of course we had a school paper, we had certain projects related to journ and stuff, and I was more interested in video making and so on. But then, when we reached that time when we had to fill out applications already, I had a change of heart that time upon graduation. I wanted to try information technology, IT.
Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you start?
Well, I enjoy technology, and what else? Graphics, design. I was into that back then. And then my dad discouraged me because I might end up doing freelance. Back then, freelance was like, no. Yeah, it was a taboo. No, it wasn't a profession back then.
Yeah.
Coming from an engineer, so so I had to take up something else. And then I did get bored with IT. I got bored with it within just one semester in San Carlos.
Because you had to stay in the four corners of it.
I know, yeah, and there was so much math. Everything was math. I know, everything was math. Everything was math.
Where did you go for IT?
In San Carlos,
Okay.
in Talaman campus. And then, so I changed my mind. I shifted to mass communications. Then I studied back in STC for mass comm.
I'm sure you did not regret that.
No, not at all.
So much. Can you please just tell us very briefly, how did you get into GMA? I know your story. I've heard about your story before, but if you can just share it again, how did you get into GMA 7?
I was about to graduate in college, and then I saw crawlers from Bentambisdak. They were looking for reporters, male, female, fresh grad are welcome, and so on. But I was so insecure. I was still a fresh grad. I had no prior experience and so on. And maybe this is just experimental. You know, when you graduate, you still don't know exactly where you want to go. And mass comm was so broad at that time. It wasn't specifically for news alone and so on. So, but I just tried to submit my applications and so on. Not only with GMA, as well as with other industries. Even hotels. I tried hotels and airline. And it was only during in GMA interview that I was really quite interested already. That I didn't mind all the other applications I sent out. Like I didn't push through with the other interviews and so on. So when GMA called, that's how I met Luan, by the way.
Same batch.
Yes, we were batchmates. So the first time we were called in GMA.
Si Lalaine at the time
Yes,
also.
Lalaine,
With the Las
Lalaine.
Marias of GMA.
We were batchmates. So that was the first day I met Luan, and we became fast friends, and we went through the whole process together. But when I met Luan, nakaano na siya, business attire in Luan. She was in business attire. She came from work, and me naman, I came from Bantayan Island. Kaya diba si mama na ako is from Bantayan Island. I was so tanned. I looked like a surfer. I was so dark and so on. But then Manila staff mentioned that they really needed the interview today. So
okay.
I just need to come as I was now. Whatever I was wearing, it's okay down. And that was
What were you wearing?
short pants. Short pants, and then it's like a gym clothes as a top. Red Razorback. Sando, really, you know? Pagkaingon, sando. Nakasando, and I was so dark, nakasandals lang, like open sandals, like almost slippers already. So I was dressed that way. But they needed the interview ASAP, remember? Because they
So
came from Manila.
nag-on-cam na kadayan with that outfit?
No, not yet. It was
Just
only
an
an interview, a sit-down interview.
Okay.
Then we came back for the on-cam interview and written.
Not
Okay.
written.
We had.
Yeah. And you never looked back since after that. Okay, your first assignment on the field, you were covering. What was your first assignment on the field?
Police beat.
The police beat. What about you, Luan? I think everyone begins in the police beat.
Exactly.
Except me.
Exactly.
I did not also. But speaking of which, in your case, you went to GMA 7 after college, but then you also moved to the newspaper.
Yeah, I
Okay,
actually
what
worked.
was the transition about?
I actually worked with GMA 7 for 2 years. That's for, I don't know how that 2 years. Like, 1996 to 1998. And then from 1998, I was pirated to work for a local paper.
Cebu Daily News.
Cebu Daily News.
Yeah.
So I worked there for 10 years. So I got the shock of my life because I was actually assigned to cover the palace beat.
That's also your first assignment?
First
Same with
assignment.
me. Yeah,
So,
mine.
diba, the difficulty of the legal jargon, so I have to study the terms because if you don't understand what you're writing, definitely you cannot write properly. So, muto lisod siya. Nasuya ako sa uban kay police beat gila in orientation, but ako, because I was the last person na na-hire sa CDN, and then the slot na available na assignment is the Palace of Justice.
Nobody wants the justice beat.
Wala din siya. So, muto. But
I think you were only
apparently,
the few crazy ones who wanted the justice beat. Yeah.
so I stayed there for practically 10 years. I
Yeah.
covered the court beat for 10 years.
We covered many stories together
Yes.
there, and at some point in time, we also met you there in the justice
Yes.
That's
beat.
where I met her. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice Beat.
Okay, one of the questions usually, because the fact is, if you work in community journalism, you don't really get paid that well.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yes.
What made you stay? What's making you stay in your job?
It's actually a call, more of a calling. Because diba, you studied, I learned to love mass comm when I actually took mass comm course at UP.
Yeah.
So it was fortunate that I ended up with GMA. And then I love that, love na gina ko ang mass comm when I went to CDN because you can make the difference, especially if you see we don't get paid that much sa kanang
For
journalism.
context, in comparison to our counterparts in Manila, for example, for context, yeah.
Yes, we don't get paid that much, pero the self fulfillment when you see your byline on the paper and when you actually see agencies acting on certain problem because of what
Your
you've
stories,
written.
yeah.
So lain ang iyang self-fulfillment.
Yes.
Yeah, and wala siya.
Yeah. And to further contextualize also, because for example, in a class of 50, ang journalism na yun ang mass comm class of 50, you'll be lucky if there are 5 people who would go into
And
journalism.
mainstream.
Yes, mainstream journalism. What about you, Mike?
What's the question?
Yeah, what made you stay? What's making you stay? Because also from college, dire-diretso na ka to in journalism.
No, before I joined media, I was an ESL teacher because at that time,
really? Okay, yeah.
because at that time there was no opening in all the TV stations, local TV stations. So I don't have a job right now. I have to work, so I tried. And then while I was on my way to work, I heard Bobby Nansaro mention the announcement.
Yeah.
So
Pero ikaw,
Didn't
personally,
think
you
twice.
wanted to go into journalism right
Of
away. Only that there were no
course.
opportunities.
Yes, at that time. Please hiring some
Okay.
big TV stations. So I just waited until I think it was more than 2 years. I was on my way to work and I heard Super Bobby. So after that, the following day, send ko letter. And then I got a call, and so that's why when Cecil met me, I was already in corporate. I was already working at that time.
What's making you stay?
It's the same. It's the fulfillment. When you go home and then you have this kind of nice stories because that you were able to help other people through your stories. They get ilang voices amplify. So that's it. Hindi ko ka-explain sa happiness na imong ma-feel rather than in a day na you go home and then imong story is just like light lang. So that's it.
Right, Mom Cecil. I think I'm the only one allowed to call her Mom Cecil. I call her Mom because she is also an educator. She taught at the University of San Carlos. We hope you're going back. But,
Okay, sir. We'll talk about that later.
go ahead, please.
So what made me stay
Yeah.
in GMA, with GMA? They mentioned already it's the fulfillment and so on, but really it's that reason. It's the service that we are able to give to the audience and so on. But you know, there was a time when I really quit, when I did quit with GMA. It was around 2010, but it was for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for personal reasons. And good thing they got me back again.
Yeah.
They presented me with another opportunity to
Yes.
stay. So it was actually a sign that maybe God really wanted me to be here. I really prayed for this job as well. You know, when I graduated, when I did the whole process with GMA, when we trained also in Manila, and every day when we were on field, I was also praying for our safety and so on. If this is really meant for me, Lord, then let us be the instrument that you need for.
But even
for
before you
others.
took a break from GMA and from journalism, you've been covering for several years already. We were together at the city government, covering the city government. Yeah. Okay. The fact also in the journalism industry in general is that most of the reporters are actually female. Why do you think that is? What makes you effective in what you do? In the Freeman, for example, today, all the reporters are female. Well, except for Carlo business, but in the main news, all our reporters are female.
Because women persevere.
What makes you effective in what you do?
Because I just don't easily give up.
Yes.
Okay.
I look for a story. If I cannot get it from this particular agency or from the LGU, I try to look for other sources. I don't easily give up.
Yeah, and women are multitaskers. So easy for us to shift from
So
one
I
role
agree.
to another and wear as many hats as we can in a day, like today.
Roxanne, what do you think? What's your edge?
Edge, yes. We can
Because you
actually
were also
edge
in the
out.
field, right?
Yes.
For at least 10
10
years.
years.
What did you think was your advantage over your male counterparts in the field?
We don't easily give up. Like, we like to challenge the sources. Like, we have certain ways of getting the information. Like, if the source will tell you no, then sir, if diba, if you're telling the truth, then you can actually might give us another way of getting the information. Because ang mga lalaki yun at times, they don't have the patience to go after the story. Like, if the source will tell you no, okay, hindi ko mamugos, di ba? But kami, we find ways to go after a particular story. So, even if our sources will tell us na no, off the record, sige, off the record, but we don't
Find someone else.
Yes, di ba?
To go
We
on
like to
record.
challenge the source, di ba? Na if you're telling us the truth, sigurado ka sir, then you can, di ba, you can give us another source who can actually give us the detail na who wants to go on ka. So, muna ang diferensya dun sa mga babae because we're hardworking than the males.
No offense to us.
Yes. But when it comes to field work, di ba? When it comes to field work, like, anak mo siguro sa balay, no, na we are tasked to do small stuff, pero pag abot sa trabaho, we actually take advantage of our learning sa balay.
Okay.
True.
Na mga kaya kami nagpaagi actually.
Yes. With organizing, scheduling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And charm also works for us. pero to a certain to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because some reporters, even the male reporters during my time, would actually push you na, ikaw ato dito ko kay babae man ka. Because if sila ang atubang, the source would automatically tell them no. Tapos man siya, sige na, ikaw una, tapos follow up lang me. So meaning, they know and they acknowledge
That was fine. That was fine with you.
Yes.
Okay.
That was fine with me, basta lang to a certain extent. Because if you go overboard, then that might be misunderstood na sad na you're flirting, which is a no-no in
Which
the
is,
industry.
yes,
Diba?
yes.
So naamag din certain times that you have to use your charm na, sige na sir, pero ayaw lang sad palabi. Kaya sa tingalig lainon po siya pagsabot sa imong source. Ba? So you have to put the
Draw the line
boundary.
somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. What is your memorable experience in journalism? Memorable stories that you've covered.
So
This might be a stretch that
My had recent ones.
yeah, a story that perhaps changed your life, if I may.
memorable, so many, but the latest one was the Naga coverage. Okay? Because of the impact and then the damage, and of course to see so many people's lives affected
Right.
because of some certain agencies na they try to nagpabungol-bungol lang when they should have known the problem long time ago. So that's it.
Ma'am Zani.
Mine was the Chong case.
Okay.
Because
Tell us a little bit
I-
about it because this happened in
1990s.
early 90s,
1997.
1997. Okay.
Ac-
Because
I
this is
covered-
actually until today this is still one of the biggest stories
Yes.
in Cebu. Yeah.
Yes, so I covered the story on set from the day one until the all Chong 7 accused were transferred to Muntinlupa. So can you just imagine, I was also in the same boat that they were in. So more like I started it and I finished it, and then it was memorable because you've seen all the drama from day one until the end, and at the end it's like have I done the best that I could? Because di ba kung reporters maguta, you cannot actually go beyond what's presented, especially if you're in
Of
court.
course, yes.
So you have to stick by what's the testimonies dito. So at the end, when they did katong mga documentaries ba, makaingon po ka na, bitaw no, like, because we were so engrossed in covering the story right there and then, wala na kailaing perspective na which was presented when the documentary was made. So lingaw to siya ma-cover, lingaw to siya
Tell us a little bit, our
ma-coverage.
audience, a little bit about what the story is about.
The story was about two sisters who were initially reported to be missing, but a day after the father reported her daughter's missing, one of the body was recovered in Karkar.
Okay.
That was purportedly Mary Joy. So from then on, 7 accused were brought into court, including mga prominent families in
Yes.
Cebu. We have the Asnar, the Uy brothers, the Laraniaga, particularly the Laraniaga, who's also a Spanish citizen. So it was actually called the trial of the
The century, correct.
because there's a lot of Maragay personalities brought into the case because
Yeah.
they have to hire mga experts from Manila
Yeah.
and they have to fly in witnesses from Manila, and what was worst was the handling judge, si Judge Ocampo, actually
Yes.
ended up dead.
Yes.
So inside
In a
his
hotel room.
in
Correct.
Lapu-Lapu.
Yeah. So that made it even more controversial and
Complicated,
complicated.
yes.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the stories na murag from day one, makatulog ka, we were still thinking about it. Pag mata ni mo na po siya. Because unlike other cases, that story, the trial was actually a marathon one. So meaning
Yes.
from day one until it's finished. Unlike other trials na schedule siya. Ang katong Chong case actually, nakaschedule din siya na mahuman siya in a certain time. So every day from Monday to Friday, that's every morning per i-cover, and then
Yeah.
the security was so tight.
That was good for the justice system, so to speak, but very
Yes.
costly for
the reporters.
for the reporters covering
Yes.
it. Yeah. Ma'am Cecil, what about you? Memorable stories that have an impact on you.
But it actually happened when I became segment anchor already. Yeah, around 2013. It was both the Bohol earthquake, Bohol
In
Cebu earthquake,
2013. Okay.
and Yolanda,
Yeah.
months apart. You know, but I was not actively involved with news gathering. It was more on our Kapuso Foundation's initiative
okay.
on ground to help the victims. I mean, our beneficiaries and so on. It was memorable in a way because I'm partly Boholana. My dad is family is from Bohol. My mom's also is from Bantayan. So it was quite personal to me. So I really volunteered for that. No, there was no extra pay and so
Yeah.
on. We really volunteered for that, and we got several partners as well involved in several projects. Aligned also for our beneficiaries. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to do that aside from news gathering. 'Cause like I said, I'm here because of the service that we can offer.
Those were two really big stories for all of us in the industry that year, because can you imagine, 1 month apart, September and then November or October? Ang Yolanda dahil
October and
October
November.
and November.
October and
and
November.
November.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, you are, most of the women I've met in the industry are very empowered, just like the three of you. You are not shy to speak your mind. You don't hesitate to speak your mind.
Yeah.
Is that an important asset when you are a journalist? The ability to speak your mind.
I think so. I used to be very shy when I was younger, but then once I entered media, I tried to be more
Aggressive.
Not really, in a positive way.
Ah.
In a positive way, because how can you get stories if you don't initiate? So that's it.
Ma'am Zani.
Same, because you have to articulate, but at times, naagyapon siya yung boundary because you might end up actually going against your source.
Yeah.
Diba?
Or
So,
worse, antagonizing the
antagonize
source.
your source, which is a no-no with siya because remember, your source will be your source forever. So you don't have to burn bridges with your sources. So like what my mind said, articulate is actually one tool for kind of reporters. Because if you don't speak up, then your source might think na okay, he got what I'm trying to draw, but when in fact you have a lot of questions in mind.
Right.
So don't hesitate. If you have questions, then ask. Ako during my time when I was a field reporter, I don't even mind giving my notebook to the source, because especially if kanang lisod ka mention iyang name.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Diba? Because there are reporters who actually pretend na, okay, what's your
yeah,
name?
yeah.
And siya. But, that's basic fact. So,
Yeah.
ako, if I don't get how to spell your name kasi
Yeah.
kung sound lain kayo siya, I don't even mind, sir, can you
That's
write
part
it?
of the verification
write it
process,
for
actually.
me?
Yes.
So that's di ba kwan lang, if you're in this business, then you actually are not in the position to more shy ka. Because di ba, you're in that profession, so you're there to get facts. So wala siya. That's how empowered women, not just women, but reporters in general.
Cecil. Yes. Is it important for a female journalist or reporter to be able to speak their mind?
Yes, that's quite true. Because unlike my mind, she mentioned she was shy.
You were never shy, eh?
Yes. If you check out my yearbook, if you all know me way back then, shy is like not synonymous to Cecil.
In your vocabulary.
Not in my vocabulary. I was just really born this way to approach
I'm sure it
people.
worked to
and so
your
on.
advantage.
It did. Yeah. So and the other things that I had to worry sa field, di na ako angay makuyawan ba og approach sa sources. Kaya di ba at first that's what you stress about, so how to duol, how to ask, and so on. So na-eliminate na ako na stress.
Right.
So yeah, so kana pa lang I was able to I'm able to approach and communicate and ask my questions, but in such a way na dili derogatory,
Yes.
not to antagonize our sources already and so on. But then I also draw a line, although I present myself na vocal ko and I'm open to their suggestions and their answers and so on, but I present myself in such a way na dili po pwedeng ilan po sayon nun, no?
Yeah.
Just because I'm that friendly or that talkative. So,
Yes, absolutely. Okay, speaking of your field work, how did you make sure that you get the respect that a woman deserves as far as your profession is concerned?
First of
Because
all,
in the field you meet many kinds of people.
Yeah.
First of all, you have to dress properly. Okay. And then act also appropriately. Like Ms. Zani said, female reporters, we have our way to charm the news sources. But there's a certain limit sa this.
Yeah.
Na professional gihapon imong dating
Yes.
when you ask the question, but I think the aura sa female reporters naaghapon siya.
How do you make sure that sources don't cross the line? Because ikaw, as the reporter, you can always choose not to, right?
Yes.
But you don't have control over your sources or the people that you meet. How do you make sure they don't cross the line as far as dealing with you is concerned?
Okay, cite na lang tayo example.
Go ahead, yes.
So,
You don't have to name names.
no naming names,
Yes.
but there were text messages, right? There were text messages. Of course, my knows. Just like my Dashi. Dash man ako sa my. So, there were text messages. So I just simply reply, I'm sorry, you're making me feel uncomfortable. That's not part of the news, the story, and so on. Let's just go back. Let's just talk about
So
what
you have to be
happened.
very clear
Yes.
From the
about
start.
this. Okay.
Yes. it has to be all about incident reports. That's it.
So you did
No.
file an incident report. Okay.
Yes.
Ma'am Zani.
Same, like, even if you're close, but then if mabot ka sa point na, oh, can we invite you to dinner, can we invite you to lunch, then you actually politely turn it down, di ba?
Okay.
That's like, it's not part, and then there are even those who actually get to the point of, do you have snacks? I have, di ba, pang good vibes ba? But if you say no, right there and then, kanang, no good siya. Dili siya ma-misinterpret nga yes or no. When you say no, then they will have that impression na di good niya siya.
Okay.
Madala. So, katong aside from katong ni Mayman, you have to be presentable. Because people have this more like perception of women, some reporters don't know what they're talking. So, it's very crucial also for your sources to actually put value on you is you have to do your research. Like before you go on field, you have to make sure basic. Because during field work, makakabantay yun ka if maka-differentiate ka sa reporters who don't do their homework because
They're easy to
paulit-balik.
spot.
Yes. Paulit-balik ang questions, diba? So,
Worse, they ask the wrong questions.
See, because if you actually ask the right question, that's when your resources would actually remember you. No, that girl actually is asking the right question, diba?
Respects you. Yeah.
Yes, so if you want to be respected, then you also have to do your share. Now, you have to go there ready, prepared, and you have to make sure that you don't mix kanang happy with being a reporter. So, if maupun sa point na that ask you out, then you have to tell them no.
Okay. So you have to be very professional about
Yes.
your dealings. Did you think of your gender at all? As far as your work is concerned? Were you conscious that I'm a woman, this is how I should behave there, this is what I should show? Were you conscious about your gender
Certain point.
in the
There were
profession?
times.
Yeah, there were
There were
times.
Especially when you're covering the police weeks.
Okay.
Because you know for a fact na ay na-adjust times na marag ay bastos na mabastos ka dito if you don't
Okay.
know how to act. So that's when I think of my gender. It depends on which
Situation you're in.
Or skills-wise, for example, abilities-wise, has your gender been an issue in the industry?
No, I don't think so.
Not so much.
Well,
But
to a certain extent, I've said the premise earlier that many of the reporters are actually women. But do you think that was an advantage, actually?
Yeah, it
Actually,
was.
it is an advantage. Because mo yung ganina na there are sources who actually lisod siya kuton, lisod siya i-penetrate, but women find ways to like get the information sa iyaha.
You have your magic.
Yes. Mura siya kuan. Makita ka lang siya sa among wala magpaluoy-luoy na. Actually, pwede ka mag-charm, pwede po paluoy-luoy effect, di ba? Kanang ingana siya ba? And then actually, your source can actually kanang maka-feel sila if you're genuine ang imong drive na to get the information. And then at certain point, mo break na po sila.
How would you describe the woman of today?
Miss Universe.
Miss Universe question. Here we go.
Here we go.
You know this is going to happen. This is bound to happen.
Cecil, yes.
Oh my gosh. So today,
Let's
women
pretend you have
today.
the crown on your head.
So the women today, mubalik tas pangutana. But to start with, because we have that so much freedom already, that there's no limitations in what we do, and there are several opportunities for us as well, no, today. That's why I think the challenge now for women is more on how to multitask and how to prioritize, really, because we can actually do a lot already. There's so much responsibilities on us as well. So the challenge is more on prioritizing. So sometimes lang ma-forget na namo that self-care, rest, and so on. And physically, also, it can be draining as well because we work so hard and so on. So basically, that's,
Because you're a news
that's the scenario
anchor,
now.
you're a reporter, you're an educator, also a wife.
A wife,
Yes.
and an entrepreneur. I help
An
my
entrepreneur,
husband.
yeah.
So I wear a lot of hats in one day actually. So it can be quite tasking. But I enjoy every minute of it. I'm not complaining. Thank you so much for these opportunities. Thank you so much for these opportunities and the work that's been coming my way. But really, what do you call this? It's more on how to prioritize which should go first and so on.
Zani.
The women of today actually does men's work. Di ba? Kaya before we have this stereotype na kani siyang trabaho para rin for males. But now,
or women, dapat din mo trabaho sa una.
yes, but now we're actually making our marks in our field. Like in other regional TV, you can see female working as editors. Pero sa amo wala pa na siya direct because we have competent male editors. But in other regional office, kuan na siya, works that were used to be dominated by males are actually slowly being penetrated by women. So ang challenge lang sa ako is how to balance work with family. Kaya isod siya, like you have to wake up at 5 and then you ang role ni Mrs. Mother. Tapos when you go to the office, then you have to shift the role na po siya until such time na mabalik pagbalay. So, ingana lang yun siya. Women of today are more empowered in the sense that we can actually go after what we want, without taking into consideration na sa ka ano, sa ka ano. Like, if you want to do things, then for so long as you can live up to it, then you can act your role, go.
Because there was a point in time when women had to be very conscious about their choices. What will society think of this?
Yes.
Did you ever experience that? No.
Yes, I did when I got married because I was expected to stay at home.
Because
Because both our moms are stay-at-home moms.
Oh, okay.
They never they were
Did you
never
ever
like,
consider
I
staying
did.
at
I did
stay-at-home
for
mom?
a time, yeah.
Okay.
Good thing na lang they presented me with the anchoring job that would just require me to report in the afternoons
Okay.
and so on.
Okay.
So, and up to now, yeah. So that's how I was able to manage the different roles that I had to take as a married woman, as a career woman, and so on.
Mine. How would you describe the woman of today?
I think women of the day are more independent and then educated, of course, because unlike in the past,
Yes.
wala kayong mga opportunities. But now, we can decide. We don't need the opinion of the guys sa things that we'd like to tackle or join yung mga work. So that's it.
What challenges do women still face today? Are there still challenges that women face today? Do you still experience discrimination to a certain extent? Do other men make you feel inferior in some ways?
At times.
At times, but it doesn't get really the best out of me.
Yes.
Yeah. Not that intimidating though.
Just at times.
Yeah, you can just easily squash it.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I haven't felt that. Going back lang sa katong Jobert ha, sa katong balancing.
Yes.
The katong only experience I had was when Kim was like 1 year and 6 months.
Kim
I had
is her daughter.
eldest daughter.
Eldest,
Diba?
yes.
Imagine, because when James married me, none mo sa media. So it doesn't, you don't have to change who you are once you get married, diba?
Yeah.
Because
He knew what he
knew.
was getting into.
Yes, so that was the shock of his life because, di ba, remember in 2007, the canvassing votes was transferred to PICC in Manila.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, muto siya ang first dito siya ang problema because when I called him, I was still in Cebu. The next call, I was already in PICC. Diba? So, muto siya ang problema ba? Like, I was like, I was what turned between so man I'll go there and perform my function as a reporter, role as a reporter, or stay here and get the ire of my bosses because wala ko, and then I'll tell them na because I'll be leaving my 1 year and 6 months baby. So I ended up pursuing the story in PICC. So that was the first good to siya nga kuan na murag
Very hard choice.
it was the most difficult kanang decision I made because the next time I told him that Bea, I'm here at PICC. PICC in Manila.
Why did you not tell him you were going?
Well, there was no time because at that time everybody was packing up kay transfer na ang boats to ano. So that was the deciding moment. So after that, actually the good thing I did that because I have to inform James, my husband, na because this is my this is my career, diba? It doesn't mean that because I went there ako nagbibiyaan akong role as a mother, di ba? You also have to understand. So, mo to ang turning point po na nakaingon po siya nga, di po din na siya masayon-sayon. Kay asawa di ka, mo yung buhaton, di ba?
Yeah.
So, it's a win-win solution.
It's a balancing act.
Yes.
Who do you look up to in your profession? Your female or idols?
Profession.
Yes.
Yeah, depende.
In the industry.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Go ahead, Maya. You first.
I like Rhea Santos, of course, because
We're talking about one of the anchors of GMA 7.
GMA 7. I like the way she delivers stories and ang style sa diyan. I just like the way she writes stories, and then her stance, everything na iyang
Zanny.
Jessica. I'm Jessica. So, because from the inception to story until the production of the story, she actually involves herself the story. So,
Her show is one of the most
yes,
watched.
yes, PMJS. So,
in Philippine TV.
yes, so kuan good si Mom Jessica is the epitome of a good reporter, di ba? From imagine na she now holds a position in GMA 7, but wala gyud niya let go na he takes
Being a journalist.
yes,
Okay.
like first hand sa kanan niya story from selection of stories until the production of stories.
Cecil.
Well, okay, aside from the two mentioned earlier, I'm really more fixated with Vicky Morales.
Okay, yeah.
I think she's almost perfect for me. Yeah. From her looks, yeah. She's very I've heard stories about her, how she's very humble, how she's too good to be true actually, na? And I've only met her once though, but I don't know, I just really like her aura. I think she's perfect and she really embodies what a kapuso really is. So tingog pa lang daan ni Miss Vicky.
At the risk of being controversial, I'll have to ask this question. Is there anyone from outside of GMA that you look up to? Not necessarily, not just in the Philippines, but in other news organizations, international, for example.
There aren't a lot of women in the international media that I know of, except for Christiana Amanpour.
Christiana Amanpour, CNN, okay.
But not really though. Yeah.
So loyal to puso.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Loyal to puso. Okay, your biggest lessons from journalism and biggest lessons from a woman doing journalism.
biggest lesson. Because I plan to think.
Let's begin with Ma'am Zane because, well, statistically speaking, she has more experience than the rest of us.
Biggest lesson is you have to take responsibility in what you do. Diba? Way back when I was writing for CDN, there was one time that the source actually made a flip-flop the following day. So it's like it's my word against
The source.
his
Okay.
word. So for so long as muna akong point, if you actually do your homework and then wala kay mga cases in the past that your sources would actually deny the information, di ba? That's when you feel like, sige, let's get down and then let's talk. Kay maklaro mo na who's talking, who's lying. So it's so crucial in this industry that you have to take like notes. Kay before mga
Of course.
now people are
Yes.
so fixated with their phones that they don't take notes. Remember, ang kaning phone sometimes magbat siya. So going back to traditional media, muna siya, you have to you have to make a name for yourself as somebody na who can be trusted at all times.
Credibility.
Credibility, yun siya ang primary important. Na you have to possess.
Mine.
I think it would be you have a lot of sources, news sources. You don't just limit yourself to those in authority, but you also need to have sources na katong nasa ubos, because you cannot get stories na diha lang. And then you also maintain a good relationship with them. Okay, they will help you in getting the story. And then ang trust bitaw, for example, if nasa sila story that they want to share, ikaw na yun nilang tawagan. If you maintain a good relationship with your source.
Yes. I agree. Cecil.
Maybe the willingness to learn new things and to be able to adapt with these changes.
Because this is a fast changing
I know.
profession.
It is.
Change happens on a daily basis almost. Yeah.
I think you just have to be ready for anything. You know, I mean, were we ready when digital media
That's right.
burst out
Yeah.
and so on? So not only that, you have to relearn a lot of things. No, it's not just news gathering, news presenting, and so on. There's a lot of relearning happening
That's true.
around us. And it's good that we have a solid group of people. We're a solid team that we learn and we correct ourselves as well, and also to advocate our own advocacies, our messages, to of course to continue ethical journalism. What else?
Of course, yes.
To fight fake news and so
Yes.
on. And
Well,
there's a lot of terms involved.
Iwan
And parang discussion, but really more on how to educate others as well.
Yes.
So
Imo na mga nag-iisgutan. Ato lang isgutan. Very briefly, where do you think the industry is going? Many have shifted to digital. CDN has shifted to digital. Many news organizations folded up across the world because print died, at least in their part of the world. Where do you think digital is going to bring us? You're from TV. We'd like to get your perspective. What's the future of journalism?
I think TV is here to stay. Although we're going digital,
Because
There
TV, you
are-
also have your digital newscasts already, right?
Yes.
Digital programs.
we have our online portal.
Yes.
www.gmutv.com.
Mike, please continue. Yes.
because siguro there are certain things na sa TV, you get it on TV, like sa news bitaw, murag na nahanay na daan ang news when you present it on TV, unlike sa social media, na diretso-diretso.
Very rough. Yes.
Yes, and you don't get to verify the story pa, diretso na dayon, live na dayon. So for TV, when you watch news on TV, credible yun na siya.
Vetted. Yeah, you can make sure the stories have been vetted.
And more comprehensive.
Yes, more comprehensive.
It's also validated na po pag sa TV.
Yes.
But although the challenge of television right now with the advent of mga Facebook Live is you have to be a step forward because diba, if they see that on social media, so what makes the difference kung murag hapon yung i-report ng TV. So the challenge for television right now is you have to make sure that what's seen on TV is actually a step advance sa social media.
Yes, that's
Kasi
true.
repetitive naman siya.
Yeah.
You won't work hard.
That's also the challenge. I have to
Yes.
agree because that's also the challenge with newspapers. We work in the newspaper. Why else would you read the newspaper if you already see everything on social media? So the challenge among newspaper journalists is to really produce more comprehensive stories in print.
Comprehensive.
Yes. Cecil.
So we have to cultivate stories that aren't just those current events, those that just happen, and then social media users can present.
Yeah,
You
go
have to
beyond the
cul-
breaking news, in
yes,
other words.
yes. You have to cultivate stories from on ground, really, like what Mai mentioned. Those who are voiceless, those who has no platform, you know, to discuss their issues and so on. So we had to assign different segments for our teams. That's why we have our Balitang Barangay, we have their RTV special reports, their mini docus, and so on. Just to gain the different interests as well for our varied audience.
Good, good. Okay, as I've mentioned earlier, many of those who graduate mass communication or from journalism schools don't really end up in journalism, but at least in the Philippines, right? If there are those who are still 50-50, how would you convince them to join the profession? Because really, we need more journalists in the Philippines.
If you have the passion, then go for it. Because in my case, I didn't need as a reporter. I didn't end up as a reporter right away. I worked as an ESL teacher for 2.5 years. But because the dream in me didn't die, so while I was working, nagsige paghihapon akong dream na someday, mas sinaday mo open.
Yeah.
So I did.
I think I remember a quote.
Just wait for the right time.
That's right, yeah. If it's still in your mind, then maybe it's still worth fighting for.
Yes.
That must have been your case. Zani, what's your message to future journalists?
Just admittedly, in media, you have to have a solid moral foundation because it's not easy working for the media. But I tell you, once you're in it, you'll love it. Because you know you can make the difference. You can actually make a difference once you get the right story and you actually see agencies and officials working to actually address that problem. Then that's our working. At the end of the day, then parang nakainumin we're doing the right thing because we're actually making people address problems. So, kind of mass media man ka, then you actually find time na musod yung ka in mainstream media and not end up in any other course.
Good. Cecil,
Okay.
what do you tell your students in class?
Okay, graduates. No?
Yeah. Those who are still unconvinced.
I'm convinced.
Yes.
Okay, well, to our aspiring and future media practitioners din ha, usaw dyan akong maingon. I think now is the best time to be a journalist.
I agree,
It's
yes.
the best time. You have the right tools, you have different platforms, no, varied actually, and it's free for you to use. So do so, no?
Take advantage.
Take advantage of the technology that you are given now, and the opportunity as well to tell stories, to tell other people's stories, for authorities also to solve, give solutions, and to put people into action really.
We usually ask this as a final question. In every Power Women episode, what's your message to the men? This is your month.
Oh my God! Miss you, kayo.
This is your month. Happy Women's Month to the three of you. What's your message to the men watching?
We're not here to compete. Diba? We should work hand in hand because there are things, admittedly, there are things that we can't do, and there are things that you can't do that we women can do. So we should not think it as a competition, but maybe, not maybe, we should work together. Diba? We should complement and make living easy for us, for all of us. So, di na mag-away.
Wisdom from Ma'am Zani.
Okay.
Cecil.
Ako,
Yes.
kuhaan na lang, sa medyo akong message mo, thank you na lang ko. Because there are those really who molded us, who helped us reach our dreams and our goals as well. So, daghang salamat po no, sa inyong suporta, especially to those who are very supportive of their female family members or loved ones and so on. So, daghang salamat because we wouldn't be able to achieve this certain freedom, this certain empowerment amongst women if it weren't for the males also who were there behind us.
Nice. Mine.
I like to think na men and women are partners, co-equal. So, ayaw may but we are step but we are co-equal. There are certain things that we can do that we can also do, that we cannot do. Diba? So, we are partners.
Great, great. Thank you very much to the three of you for joining us today. And my congratulations on
Thank you.
your award, the Gandingan Award from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. This is your second for now.
We're buying it.
Yes. Future Hall of Famer.
Why not? Why not? Our guests in this episode of Power Women, we have news personalities from GMA 7 Cebu, Luan May Rendina, our Gandingan awardee, Cecil Kibot Castro, and of course the program manager of Balitang Misda, Suzanne Saba Alweta. Hopefully, we hope that their stories today will be able to inspire you to be better, if not the best version of yourselves. This is Jobert Alca, the online editor of the Freeman. Thank you very much for joining us in this episode of Power Women, where we get to feature and talk to women who are not afraid to make a difference. See you next time.
Thank you.